What's up, guys? Sumner Healey from landinvestor.co. You're tuning into Cigars and Land Q&A. Now, this question comes from Jing, who is one of our Leah members. Jing says, hey, I have a lead owning a commercially zoned property, but my offer price is for non-commercial properties, 50% of market value. Now the lead is interested to sell, but claims that my offer is too low. What shall I do in this situation? Well, Jing, this is a great question. This is an area that stumps so many land investors. Now, if you're outside city limits, zoning doesn't really matter that much. It's usually pretty broad county zoning. But once you start getting into city limits and you have some more intricate zoning, some kind of industrial zoning, commercial zoning, high density residential zoning can really start adding a lot of value to the property. And the reason being is usually that zoning is very coveted. You know, in every county or every city, there might only be a couple dozen or maybe 100 properties that have that specific kind of zoning. And so the ones that have it are, by virtue of the lack of supply, are more valuable. Now, where so many people go wrong is they just use this classic, well, I'm gonna look at on Redfin or Zillow and here's a property the same size that's close by, so here's my offer. Nah, that won't work. Now, I got to preface and say there's no special formula or offer percentage for residential or commercial or industrial. None of that matters. And frankly, none of that matters in the land business in general. Well, I should clarify. None of that matters when you're talking to sellers. Your offer percentage does not matter when you're talking to sellers. The offer percentage is somewhat relevant when you're sending out marketing, just so we can kind of test what works. So I might send a mailer at 40% of market value. It didn't work. Okay, let me go to 50. It didn't work. Let me go to 55. And we kind of find that threshold where our marketing starts to hit. But beyond that, offer percentages, don't care about them. And now, why is that? That flies in the face of what so many other land investing gurus will tell you. The reason being is on the acquisition side, the only thing that we're doing is trying to find out the need of the seller or the problem the seller has and solve that with our offer. Our seller does not give a hoot about what offer percentage we're offering. Our seller cares about, can we solve their problem? Now, their problem is going to be related to money in some extent. Now, sometimes there's a terms component or timeline component or things like that. But what you don't want to do is just willy-nilly throw out offers and not know the situation of the seller. So our first job, whether it's commercial or residential or whatever it may be, is to figure out what's the seller's problem. Why are they on the phone with us? Unearth that and create offers around that. Now, we still need to know what the property's worth, and we still need to ensure that we have enough margin to make the deal work, but we want to merge those two worlds. What most novice land investors do is they just say, hey, property's worth 100. I'm going to offer between 40 and 60. Call them up, make the offer. Didn't work. Got to spark this thing up. Give me 1 sec. Oh, shit. Quick water break. Cheers. Now, the pros, the 7-figure and beyond land investors know it's not just about the offer percentage or what offer you want to create. It's about the seller situation. Okay, so that's the first thing we have to do with every single seller that comes across our desk. Now, when it comes to actually underwriting these deals, you need to follow the Leah principle, which is proximity, features, recency. That is how we comp and value land. Now, each one has more importance than the next. Now, in this situation, features is going to be the real key thing, right? Features is also going to relate to zoning, so we need to find like-kind properties with ideally the same zoning. Now, how do we do that? Well, it's typically not going to happen on Redfin. Now, in some cases, the proximity will also have the same features or zoning. So you might be on Redfin and find the adjacent property that sold that most likely has the same zoning. That can happen, but that's very rare. More than likely, what we need to do is start looking beyond the typical platforms. So I need to go and hunt down properties that have a similar zoning. So how am I going to do that? Well, first thing, I might go to LoopNet and look at commercial land that's sold or listed. I'm going to go find those commercial brokers on those listings and call them, because we can't always find comps that are similar, but there are specific commercial brokers out there that will understand how to value these things. Because honestly, the comping process for them, how they were going to value a listing for a commercial asset, is different than your standard 1-acre residential lot. But that's really only information that we can get from a high quality commercial broker. And we typically find them on a platform like LoopNet. Now, in some cases in a very rural city or market, that's going to be tough to do. So my next step is, can I go to the county assessor's website or the GIS, and can I go and actually find properties that have commercial zoning in that market and go look at last sale price and assessed value and start trying to put together a complete picture based off of that, right? I'm a big believer that last sale price for like-kind properties is a really powerful metric. I would also look at the last sale price for the asset that you're looking to make an offer on, right? That's a great anchor to understand, okay, the seller paid this much however many years ago. That's going to give us some information on value. Now, the other thing that I'm going to think about is, well, what's the use case for this property, okay? It's a commercial asset, and all surrounded next to it are car lots. So maybe a car lot is what's going to go here. Well, I might go call those car lots, or maybe there's apartments all around here. I'm going to go call those apartment developers and see what they would pay for it. A lot of these people are hungry for inventory, right? Builders, developers, like they want this stuff desperately. And they're typically an open book. They'll pretty much tell you exactly what they'll pay, right? We've been working on these entitlements, these residential entitlement deals. And on our underwriting process on the front ends, we'll go and call builders and say, hey, what do you pay for paper lots, or what do you pay for finished lots? And here's how many they're going to be. This is the size of the lots. Here's how much density we're creating. And they're pretty much open books. They'll say, wait, we pay this much for a paper lot. Here's how much it costs for us to build a house. All right, these people aren't going to keep their cards close because they want to do business with you, and they're an open book. Working from a B2B transaction is very different than a B2C transaction. And by doing these deals, you're ultimately in the B2B world. And so go hunt down these businesses and get intel from them. Now, that's not always possible. And again, it depends on the kind of property you have, but that is always an option you have at your disposal. I know a land investor that buys deals that are next to Walmarts or Targets or Starbucks and goes and finds these other big box stores and sees if they want to buy the deal. And sometimes they'll get intel on what it's worth, but maybe they're not a buyer. And then in some cases, they'll become a buyer. And so this story is true with all the different zoning types, right? As we get into city limits and we get more specific zoning, values are always going to go up, but our underwriting process is going to move away from the typical Redfin, Zillow, Land.com. Now, in some cases, you can find these assets on there. I don't want to lead you to believe that they're not there, but it's very, very rare. So that is the process for underwriting properties with intricate zoning. But Jing, even beyond the zoning, we need to understand that offer percentages do not matter when we're talking to sellers. Our goal here, no matter what the zoning is, to find out their problem and connect our offer as a solution to that problem. Now, sometimes it's literally the offer, but sometimes it's also the terms that go along with the offer. Hope that helps, guys. If you guys want to get inside of our Discord and hang out with me and the badass community that we've created with Leah, head over to landinvestor.co/Discord. Come get in there, introduce yourself, start making some friends and doing some deals. If you want to get into the most badass land investing community and scale a 6 or 7 figure land business in 2024 and beyond, head over to landinvestor.co/apply.